The massive chamber of the Galactic Confederation buzzed with panic. Hundreds of alien beings from across the galaxy filled the floating platforms, their voices creating a chaos of sounds that the translation devices struggled to process. Holographic displays showed red warning signals everywhere, entire star systems falling to the advancing Vorthak Empire. Admiral Park Jinwoo sat in the small human section, watching the alien delegates argue. His uniform felt heavy in the artificial gravity, but his expression remained calm. Beside him, Commander Lee Min-hee tapped her fingers nervously on her data pad, while Captain Kim Soo-young studied the tactical displays with growing concern. 12 systems have fallen in just 2 weeks, announced the Altarian representative. Its crystal body pulsed with blue light as it spoke. The Vorthak war machine moves faster than we predicted. We must protect the core worlds at all costs. The Zelkari ambassador waved its tentacles angrily. Our third defense fleet was destroyed completely. These Vorthak warriors fight like madmen. They take no prisoners and show no mercy. Jinwoo stood up slowly. What about the outer colonies? There are millions of people living there. We cannot just abandon them. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then the Krillian military leader laughed, a sound like breaking glass. The human speaks. How amusing. Your species has been part of this confederation for only 50 years. You have no experience in galactic warfare. The outer colonies are expendable, added the Altarian coldly. We must focus our resources on defending the important worlds. The newer species must understand their place in the galactic order. Min-hee's jaw tightened, but Jinwoo placed a hand on her shoulder to keep her calm. He had expected this reaction. For 50 years, humanity had been treated as the weak newcomers, the species that barely deserved a seat at the table. The Confederation's supreme commander, a tall being with 4 arms and silver skin, began assigning defense fleets. The Altarian home system gets 40 battle cruisers. The Zelkari core worlds receive 30. The Krillian military bases get 25. Jinwoo waited. The list went on and on. Finally, near the end, came the human allocation. Earth sector receives 3 cruisers that should be sufficient for evacuation purposes. 3 ships, for an entire sector containing dozens of human colonies and nearly 50 million people. Captain Kim Soo-young started to protest, but Jinwoo shook his head. There was no point in arguing. The decision had been made long before this meeting began. As the session ended and the aliens dispersed to their ships, Jinwoo activated his secure communication link to Earth Command. The holographic image of Admiral Choi Hyun-woo appeared, his weathered face showing no surprise at the news. Let me guess, Choi said. They gave us nothing and expect us to run away. 3 outdated cruisers, Jinwoo confirmed. Barely enough firepower to protect a single planet, let alone our entire sector. Choi nodded grimly. The same pattern as always. When there is peace, they want our trade goods and our resources. When there is war, they treat us like children who should hide while the adults fight. What are your orders, sir? Return to Earth immediately. We are implementing Protocol 7. Min-hee looked confused. Protocol 7? I have never heard of that designation. Jinwoo smiled for the first time that day. That is because it was classified above your security level, Commander. You will learn about it soon enough. As their transport ship left the Confederation station, Soo-young stared out at the massive alien fleet assembling for battle. Admiral, do you really think we can survive this alone? The Vorthak Empire has conquered dozens of worlds. Their military technology is advanced. Their warriors are ruthless. The other species see us as weak because we are new to galactic politics, Jinwoo replied. They forget that we are the only race in known history to completely unite our home planet before reaching the stars. They think this makes us primitive. Does it not? Min-hee asked quietly. No, Commander. It makes us unique. Every other species in this galaxy expanded to space while still fighting wars among themselves. They learned to build starships while their homeworlds burned with conflict. But humanity did something different. We learned to work together first. We ended war on Earth before we reached for the stars. The transport entered hyperspace heading toward Earth at maximum speed. In the cargo bay, Sealed containers held detailed intelligence about every alien military technology, every Vorthak battle tactic, every strategic weakness the Confederation possessed. Information that humanity had been quietly gathering for 5 decades. The aliens made one critical mistake, Jinwoo continued. They assumed that because we avoid conflict, we are weak. They never bothered to study our history. They never learned about our wars, our strategies, our capacity for violence when our families are threatened. As Earth grew larger on the view screen, Choi's voice came over the communication system. All human colonies, all human ships, all human citizens, this is Admiral Choi Hyunwoo. The galaxy has forgotten who we are. It is time to remind them. Protocol 7 is now active. The real war begins now. In the depths of space, sleeping human ships began to wake up. War Commander Thrakvol stood before the massive tactical display in his flagship's command center. The hologram showed the entire galaxy, with red markers indicating Vorthak conquests and blue dots representing remaining Confederation forces. His officers moved efficiently around him, updating battle reports and coordinating the advance of his warfleets. "Report on enemy capabilities," Thrakvol commanded, his voice echoing through the metal chamber. His intelligence officer, a scarred veteran named Graktul, activated a series of data screens. The Altarians pose the highest threat level. Their energy shield technology can deflect our primary weapons for up to 18 minutes. Recommendation: use overwhelming firepower and boarding tactics. Thrakvol nodded. The Altarians had been troublesome, but his forces had eventually broken their defensive lines at 3 major battles. "The Zelkari plasma weaponry is moderately dangerous," Graktul continued. "Their ships pack significant firepower, but their tactics are predictable. They always try to engage at long range. We counter by closing distance quickly and using our superior armor." "What about the Krillians?" "Decent tactical skills, but limited industrial capacity. They cannot replace their losses fast enough. Their military leaders think like us. Direct confrontation, winner takes all. Easy to predict and counter." Thrakvol studied the display with satisfaction. Each enemy species followed the same pattern. They met his fleets in open battle, fought briefly with their best weapons, then retreated to stronger defensive positions when they started losing. Simple, predictable, and ultimately futile. "And the humans?" he asked, almost as an afterthought. Graktul barely glanced at his notes. "Minimal threat. Recent addition to galactic civilization, only 50 years. No significant military victories on record. Their ships use standard Confederation technology with no improvements. Intelligence suggests they will likely surrender upon first contact rather than fight." "Excellent. How many ships do we need to secure their territory?" "A single battle group should suffice, maybe 2 squadrons if they decide to be stubborn." Thrakvol dismissed the briefing and turned his attention to more important matters. The Zelkari home fleet was regrouping near their capital world, and crushing them would open up 3 more sectors for conquest. Meanwhile, on the human colony world of New Busan, Captain Ojiwan received her orders through the emergency military channel. The message was simple but carried the weight of 50 years of preparation. All human colonies, implement defensive protocol immediately. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Unlike the other species in the galaxy, humans did not begin evacuating their civilian populations. Instead, something remarkable happened across human space. Every settlement, from the largest cities to the smallest mining outposts, began transforming. Children and elderly citizens moved quickly to underground shelters that had been built into every human colony from the beginning, but the adults remained above ground, taking positions that had been planned and practiced for decades. Sergeant Han Do-young checked his plasma rifle and looked out over the city of New Seoul. The streets looked normal, but he knew that was an illusion. Every building now contained armed civilians. Every intersection had hidden weapon emplacements. Every vehicle could become a mobile fighting platform within minutes. "Sarge," called Private Woo Ji-hoon, "why are we not running like the other species? The Vorthak have bigger ships and more soldiers." Han smiled grimly. Because we are not like the other species, soldier. They think in terms of fleets and planets and territories. We think in terms of family and survival and protecting what matters. Across the colony, similar preparations were taking place. Dr. Moon Gayung, a civilian scientist, was teaching her research team how to use military explosives. Teacher Park Sunho was organizing his students' parents into communication networks. Even the local shopkeeper, old Mr. Kim Bongjun, was cleaning weapons he had kept hidden for 40 years. The alien species had made a critical error in their assessment of humanity. They saw humans as peaceful because humans avoided starting conflicts. They interpreted humanity's recent arrival in galactic politics as inexperience. They assumed that a species with no recent military victories must be weak. What they failed to understand was that humans had spent 50 years studying every single military conflict in galactic history. While other species focused on developing new technologies or expanding their territories, humanity had quietly analyzed every battle, every strategy, every successful and failed military campaign they could find. Captain Bei Yejin, commanding the destroyer Incheon, reviewed her orders one final time. Her ship was one of hundreds positioned throughout human space, not at obvious military bases or defensive positions, but hidden in asteroid fields, behind gas giants, and in the outer regions of star systems where no one would think to look. Navigation. Confirm our position, she ordered. We are exactly where we need to be, Captain. All systems ready. Back on Earth, Admiral Choi Hyun-woo stood in the command center, buried deep beneath the planet's surface. Screens showed the positions of every human ship, every colony, every prepared position across dozens of star systems. For the first time in 50 years, humanity was about to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. Sir, reported Commander Yu In-soo, Vorthak advanced scouts have entered our territory. They are moving toward New Busan Colony. Choi nodded, calmly. Let them come. It is time they learned why we conquered our own world. The first Vorthak scout fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the New Sol system, expecting to find panicked civilians fleeing in evacuation ships. Instead, their sensors detected something puzzling. All human colonies were still fully inhabited, with normal energy signatures and no signs of evacuation. Fleet Commander Vectar studied the readings with confusion. This makes no sense. Where are the refugee ships? Why have they not abandoned their worlds? Perhaps they are too primitive to understand the danger, suggested his tactical officer. Intelligence reports indicate they are a peaceful species with limited military experience. Vectar ordered his ships toward the main colony world. The plan was simple. Make a show of force, demand surrender, then occupy the planet with minimal resistance. It had worked the same way on dozens of other worlds. On the surface of New Sol, Lieutenant Colonel Yoon Tae-hyung watched the approaching enemy ships from his command post hidden deep in the mountains. Around him, his staff monitored communication, channels that connected every human settlement across multiple star systems. Sir, enemy fleet is entering weapons range, reported Major Song Dae-hee. They are broadcasting surrender demands on all frequencies. Yoon smiled coldly. Implement the chosen protocol. All units maintain radio silence. Let them land their troops. The chosen protocol was named after an ancient Earth battle where outnumbered Auk human forces had used terrain and weather to defeat a much larger enemy. But this version had been adapted for space warfare and planetary defense. The Vorthak ships moved into orbit and began deploying landing craft. Thousands of enemy soldiers descended toward the colony's main city, expecting to occupy it without a fight. Their intelligence had told them that humans were soft creatures who valued individual life over military objectives. They were about to learn how wrong that assessment was. As the first Vorthak troops landed in the city center, they found empty streets and silent buildings. No civilians ran screaming. No soldiers marched out to meet them in formal battle. The city seemed abandoned. Then the shooting started. Captain Yang Woojin fired the first shot from a window 3 blocks away, taking down a Vorthak squad leader with a precision plasma rifle. Instantly, the entire city came alive with gunfire, from hundreds of concealed positions. The Vorthak troops found themselves under attack from every direction. Civilians emerged from buildings with military weapons, using tactics the enemy had never encountered. Instead of forming battle lines, the humans fought from shadows, struck quickly, then disappeared before the enemy could respond. "This is impossible," radioed the Vorthak ground commander. "Intelligence said they were peaceful. These tactics are more sophisticated than anything we have faced." What the Vorthak did not understand was that every human colony had been designed as a fortress from the beginning. Every building contained weapon caches and defensive positions. Every civilian had received military training. Most importantly, every human settlement was connected to a communication network that allowed perfect coordination across vast distances. While the ground battle raged on New Sol, Captain Bai Yijin received her orders aboard the destroyer Incheon. Her ship had been hiding in the asteroid belt for 6 months, waiting for this moment. "All hands to battle stations," she announced. "Target the enemy supply ships, hit them hard, and get out fast." The Incheon emerged from behind a large asteroid, fired a full spread of missiles at the Vorthak logistics vessels, then disappeared back into the asteroid field before the enemy warships could respond. Within minutes, the Vorthak fleet had lost 3 supply ships and had no idea where the attack had come from. Similar attacks were happening throughout human space. Ships that the galaxy thought were simple cargo vessels revealed hidden weapons. Mining stations that seemed defenseless turned out to be heavily armed fortresses. Human forces appeared from nowhere, struck with devastating precision, then vanished before enemy reinforcements could arrive. Commander Park Sung-ho coordinated attacks across 5 different star systems from his mobile command ship. Unlike other species that relied on centralized command structures, humans had developed a system where every unit could operate independently while remaining perfectly synchronized with the overall strategy. "Report from New Busan sector," called his communications officer. "Enemy fleet destroyed, colony secure. New Jeju system. Supply convoy eliminated. Enemy forces retreating. Excellent. Phase 2 begins now." War Commander Thrakvol received the battle reports with growing alarm. In less than 12 hours, humanity had inflicted more damage on his forces than the previous 3 enemy species combined. But this was not the worst part. The worst part was that he still had no idea how they were doing it. "Sir," reported his intelligence chief nervously, "the humans are not fighting like any species we have encountered. They do not mass their fleets for large battles. Instead, they strike everywhere at once with perfect timing. How is such coordination possible across multiple star systems?" "Unknown, sir. It is as if their entire civilization operates as a single military unit." Back on Earth, Admiral Choi Hyun-woo reviewed the tactical displays with satisfaction. While other species had spent centuries developing better weapons and stronger ships, humanity had focused on something far more dangerous: the ability to fight as one unified organism while maintaining individual initiative. "Sir," reported Colonel Kim Tae-jun, "all Phase 2 objectives completed ahead of schedule. Ready to proceed to Phase 3. Choi nodded. "Begin the liberation campaigns. Show the galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity's family." Across human space, hidden fleets began moving toward their real targets, not just defending human worlds, but freeing every planet the Vorthak had conquered. The emergency session of the Galactic Confederation took place aboard a heavily shielded space station, far from the front lines of the war. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered in stunned silence as they watched the tactical displays showing something impossible. Human fleets were appearing everywhere. The Altarian delegate's crystal body flickered with confusion. "This cannot be accurate. Our intelligence reports showed humans had only a few dozen ships. These displays show hundreds of vessels across the entire galaxy." Supreme Commander Kelvash studied the data with growing amazement. "In the past 72 hours, human forces have liberated 18 conquered worlds, destroyed 43 Vorthak battle groups, and somehow coordinated attacks across distances that should make such coordination impossible." Admiral Park Jin-woo stood before the assembly, his calm expression unchanged despite the shocked stares directed at him. Behind him, holographic displays showed human ships emerging from hiding places throughout the galaxy. Asteroid fields. Gas giant atmospheres, the outer edges of star systems where no one had thought to look. You seem surprised, Jinwoo said quietly. Did you think we spent 50 years in this confederation doing nothing? The Zelkari ambassador's tentacles writhed nervously. Your ships, where did they come from? Our sensors showed only exploration. Vessels in those regions. Exploration vessels. Jinwoo smiled. Yes, that is what we called them. We told you we were exploring empty star systems, studying cosmic phenomena, mapping trade routes. You never asked what we were really doing. Captain Song Minjae's battle group struck the Vorthak supply depot at Rigel Station, while the enemy fleet was attacking the Krillian homeworld. Her ships appeared from the shadow of the system's largest planet, destroyed the depot and its defenders in 12 minutes, then disappeared into hyperspace before reinforcements could arrive. At the same time, Commander Lim Jaeho's task force was liberating the besieged Zelkari colony world of Theta Prime. His Marines fought alongside desperate Zelkari defenders, using human tactics that turned the tide of a battle the aliens had thought was lost. How is this possible? The Zelkari colony commander asked as human soldiers helped evacuate wounded civilians. Your forces move with perfect coordination across dozens of light years. Jaeho smiled as he coordinated with 3 other human commanders attacking different targets in the same sector. We learned something a long time ago that other species never understood. We fight not as individuals, not as separate armies, but as one family. The secret was not advanced technology or superior weapons. While other species had focused on building better ships and stronger armor, humanity had developed something far more dangerous. A military doctrine based on perfect unity while maintaining individual initiative. Every human in the galaxy, from combat soldiers to civilian researchers, shared the same ultimate goal: protect the human family. This was not blind obedience like a hive mind, but conscious choice made by billions of individuals who had learned to think beyond themselves. War Commander. Thrakful found his mighty empire crumbling in ways he had never imagined possible. Human forces were not just defeating his fleets, they were systematically destroying his ability to wage war at all. Sir, his logistics officer reported with panic in his voice, they are targeting our supply lines exclusively. Food shipments, fuel convoys, ammunition transports, all gone. Our frontline fleets are running out of everything. Impossible. How do they know where our supply routes are? They seem to know everything about our operations, sir. Every convoy route, every supply depot, every refueling station. It is as if they have been watching us for years. They had been. While the Confederation species had dismissed humans as harmless newcomers, humanity had been quietly gathering intelligence on every military force in the galaxy. They knew the location of every Vorthak base, the schedule of every supply run, the weakness of every defensive position. But more than that, they had been teaching. On the liberated world of Kappa 7, Colonel Park Seungmin coordinated the defense against a Vorthak counterattack. His battalion included not just human soldiers, but volunteers from 6 different species, former prisoners of war who had been freed by human forces. Remember, he told a group of young Altarian fighters, do not try to match their strength. Use their strength against them. Make them chase you into places where their advantages become weaknesses. The Altarians had never heard of guerrilla warfare before meeting humans. Their military tradition focused on direct confrontation using superior technology. But under human instruction, they learned to fight in ways their enemies could not predict or counter. This was happening across the galaxy. Every world liberated by human forces became a training ground where other species learned human military tactics. The concept spread like wildfire, ordinary beings discovering they could fight back against seemingly impossible odds. Sir, reported Major Kim Hyojung from her position on the bridge of the carrier, Gwangju, the Vorthak are requesting parley. Admiral Choi Hyunwoo considered this for a moment. Around him, displays showed the current state of the war. Vorthak forces were retreating on all fronts. Their supply lines shattered, their conquered worlds rising in rebellion. Tell War Commander Thrakful that we will meet him at his homeworld, Choi replied. It is time to end this war properly. The final battle would not be about conquest or revenge. It would be about offering the same choice humanity had once made for itself: unite in peace or face the consequences of continued aggression. The Vorthak home world of Thrakvel hung in space like a fortress, surrounded by the last remnants of their once mighty war fleet. Massive defense platforms bristled with weapons, while patrol ships moved in careful formations around the planet's 3 moons. War Commander Thrakvel had gathered every remaining ship, every loyal soldier, every functioning weapon for this final stand. His officers moved nervously around the command center, knowing that defeat here would mean the end of their empire. Intelligence reports showed human fleets approaching from multiple directions, but something was different about this attack. The humans were not coming alone. "Sir," reported his sensor officer with barely controlled fear, "we are detecting ships from dozens of different species approaching with the human fleet. Altarians, Zelkari, Krillians, even some of our former prisoners of war." Thrakval studied the tactical display with growing amazement. The approaching armada included representatives from every species his empire had conquered or attacked. But they were not flying in their traditional formations. Instead, they moved with the same coordinated precision that had made human forces so deadly. Admiral Park Jinwoo stood on the bridge of the flagship Seoul, watching the enemy homeworld grow larger on the view screen. Around him, his staff coordinated with allied commanders from across the galaxy. Captain Ko Yoonji's squadron included former Vorthak prisoners who had chosen freedom over loyalty to their old empire. Commander Nam Ji-hyun's battle group flew alongside Altarian ships whose crews had learned human tactics. "Open a communication channel to the planet," Jinwoo ordered. The image of War Commander Thrakval appeared on the main screen, his scarred face showing a mixture of rage and confusion. Behind him, the command center of his flagship buzzed with desperate activity. "I offer you the same choice we once made for ourselves," Jinwoo said calmly. "Unite with us in peace, or face the consequences of your actions. But understand, this is not about conquest or revenge. This is about ending the cycle of war that has plagued this galaxy for too long." Thrakval's laugh was bitter. "Peace? You come here with warships and speak of peace? You have destroyed my empire, scattered my fleets, turned my own people against me." "We offered your people freedom," replied Jinwoo. "Many chose to accept it. The choice is still available to you." Never. The Vorthak do not surrender. The battle that followed was unlike anything seen in galactic history. It was not just about military victory, but about demonstrating a completely different way of thinking about conflict. Captain Jeon Minseo coordinated ground forces that included warriors from every species in the galaxy. Her Marines fought alongside former enemies who had learned that cooperation was stronger than conquest. Sergeant Park Hyunbin led a squad that included 2 former Vorthak soldiers who had defected during the liberation of their prison camp. "Remember," Hyunbin told his mixed species team as they prepared to assault a defense platform, "we are not here to destroy everything. We are here to give them the chance to choose a better path." The assault was surgical, precise, and devastating. Human tactics had been adapted and improved by the perspectives of dozens of different species. Altarian energy shields protected advancing troops. Zelkari plasma weapons provided covering fire. Krillian engineers disabled enemy systems with techniques learned from human sabotage experts. But the most remarkable aspect was not the fighting itself. It was what happened to captured enemy soldiers. Lieutenant Yoon Soo-young processed a group of Vorthak prisoners who had been taken from a disabled battlecruiser. Instead of treating them as enemies, she offered them the same choice that had been given to thousands of others. "You can return to your fleet and continue fighting a war. You cannot win," she explained through a translator. "Or you can help us build something better. The choice is yours." To her surprise, most of them chose to stay. As the battle raged around the planet, something extraordinary happened in the Vorthak command center. Reports were coming in from across their home world. Entire military units were laying down their weapons and requesting to speak with human negotiators. "Sir," his communications officer reported with shock, "General Vektar's entire army division has surrendered. They say they want to join the Liberation Alliance." Thrakval watched his empire collapse not through destruction but through transformation. His own people were choosing to abandon the path of conquest and join something they had never seen before, a galaxy-wide alliance based on cooperation rather than domination. The final moment came when his own flagship was surrounded. Instead of destroying it, the Allied fleet held position and waited. Admiral Jinwoo's face appeared on the screen one last time. "The war is over, Thrakvol. Your choice now will determine whether you become part of the solution or remain part of the problem." For the first time in his military career, War Commander Thrakvol found himself facing an enemy who offered victory through surrender rather than demanding it through destruction. When the Galactic Confederation reconvened weeks later, Admiral Choi Hyunwoo took his place not as a junior member representing a weak species, but as the elected leader of a transformed galaxy. The aliens who had once dismissed humanity as inexperienced newcomers now understood what they had failed to see. Humanity had accomplished something unprecedented in galactic history. They had ended war itself, not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through the same unity and determination that had once brought peace to their own world. The age of conquest was over. The age of cooperation had begun.